All right, what's up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Security here with another video for you. If you watched my live stream recently, we basically found a password, or at least most of a password, but we had to put together a custom word list, and then we wanted to conduct a password brute forcing attack against the server to log in as a particular account. Now, one of the issues that I ran into when doing that was trying to use it in a or exploit the vulnerability without using Burp Suite, because in the version that probably most people have is the non-paid version, the community edition, and I only have a license at my job for the pro edition, so I'm kind of stuck on community edition. Now, one of the issues that you will realize, if you haven't already, with the community edition is that they throttle you on the intruder. So the intruder is a way that you can, fuzz different things, conduct brute forcing attacks, things of that nature, right? They throttle your speed and exponentially more and more the longer your word list is. So I wanted to, challenge myself to use other tools to brute force it. Now, I've used OSCP in the past. I didn't want to go that route, but it can do that as well. But one thing I said on that live stream was that I would research how to use WFuzz in order to exploit it and get back to you. Now, I'm going to leave that box and doing that live for the live streams, but I have found another hack the box machine here that I will illustrate to you guys how you can do that today. So this is one quick tip for password hacking. Now, there's so many different applications of password hacking, like different flavors for different situations, right? In this case, we're trying to brute force web form login, but password hacking could also refer to brute forcing some other protocol like SSH, or even like a basic auth on the on the web, like on the on a website or something like that. Also, it could involve offline password cracking, like cracking hashes using something like John and stuff like that. And even within the area of attacking web forms, as we'll do in this video, you'll see that there's a number of different tools you can use to do so, right? I already mentioned the burp intruder, OSCP. We're going to demo WFuzz in this video, but there's also tools like Hydra and like Medusa and all these other tools. Like, you can even create your own custom tool to do it if you feel so inclined to go that route. But there's, like pretty much all things in this space, there is a near infinite number of ways to go about doing this. But I want to keep things simple to you, right? I don't want to show you like 12 different ways to do something. I want to show you one way, so you have one tool to approach this situation. Let me just say, if you're going for OSCP, you will most certainly find yourself in a situation like this. We'll keep building upon what we learn from here, but we're going to start off really simple. So one of the greatest ways to learn stuff is to then, go do it and then teach it. So I am new to WFuzz. I haven't used it too much. I knew it existed. I had used it once, I think, in the OSCP, not necessarily the lab, but their guide document or whatever, lab guide. But I haven't ever went off on my own and really played with it until recently. So now I'm going to show you guys how you can use it for this purpose. Now, let's get straight into it. 4 minutes of giving you the backstory here of what's going on. But so on this box, I'm doing dab by Hack the Box. And after doing my scans, I found there is a web server running, and when I go to it, it redirects me to this /login, this login page here. Now, what I did was I just typed admin, hit login, and went to see what the request looked like in my Burp Suite. So I got this post request sent to the /login endpoint here with username, password, submit equals login. So using that data, you can use something like WFuzz to brute force this. So the way that we're going to go about doing that, I'm going to first pull up the help page to WFuzz, and I'm going to walk you through the flags that I'm going to use, but of course, you have a myriad of options. The ones that I found relevant to running a brute force attack against this web form login was -C for output with colors. It's really nice visual aid in the output to be able to confirm things. So that's just a nice quality of life feature that I wanted to include in my command. Now, another thing that I made use of course, was the -W for the word list. Now, you'll see in a minute what word list I chose to use. Of course, endless options there for what word list you choose to use. And it depends on the situation. You know, on a live engagement, when doing it live, you probably have to try a number of word lists before you get it. But also keep in mind with the web form brute forcing, this is happening over the network, right? So if you're trying to use a really large word list like rocku.txt, that's like 14 million different passwords, that's going to take exponentially longer to complete versus, you know, if you were locally trying to crack something. So just something to keep in mind. The payload that we're going to use in this video is 1,000 word list, so really not too big, especially compared to rocku.txt or something like that, right? Now, because we saw this was a post request when we looked at the request from burp, we're going to need to use the -D flag, the lowercase d here, for post data. Now, what is post data? Post data is everything in the body of a request. So you have your headers up here, right? All of these things here are headers. Anything below this, you'll see the space, and then all of this data down below is the the body data, you know, also known as the post data, the body of the HTML request, also known as post data. So when it says post data, that just means we have to supply it with this data here. All right. Namely, there's 3 fields. Username. In this case, we're going to use admin. Password. Here's where we're going to pass that password list, that word list, and I'll show you how to do that with wfuzz here in a second. And then submit equals login. That way it's able to submit the login request, of course. And I'll run it as is, and then I'll show you one extra thing that I add to the command in order to, because we didn't tell it the failure condition, so I'll show you that in a second. So last thing, of course, you got to supply it with the URL so it knows where to conduct this attack on in the first place. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So we'll use wfuzz because I already have that installed on my system and in my path. -C for the colors. And we'll use user share. This is the one I'm going to use here. User share sec lists, which this is just the Daniel Miessler sec lists that I have already installed in my system, and I manually moved it to the user share directory. So if you don't see this on your Kali box, that's why, right? So if you type in, you know, right here, sec list, you can search like sec list GitHub, and you'll find it here. This is the sec list by Daniel Miessler. It's got a lot of good word lists in here, so definitely one that I go to quite a bit. So I moved that manually under my user share directory in my Kali box. Just how I have it set up. We can go into passwords, hit tab twice to see what's there. We're gonna do dark web top 1000. That's the one I opted to go with for the purposes here. So now -D, we're gonna give it the post data. Now we're gonna surround it in quotes, just so that there's no issues here that might arise. So for that, we can, to start with as a template, we can copy this line here, all this post data. So we feed in the post data. Now, here's where we make an adjustment. We want to brute force on the admin account, so we can leave that as is. However, for password, we want to fuzz it with this word list. Now, the way you do this with wfuzz is the keyword, and this is all caps, fuzz. So now anytime it sees the fuzz keyword in your command here, that's where it's going to try to, you know, fuzz it with your word list. So obviously we want to do that on the password field, so that's why we have that there. And then, of course, we'll close this out with the quote there. and we'll tell it the URL now. We'll supply it the URL. This was 10.10.10.86 in the case of this box, and /login because that was the endpoint. Yeah, and I just noticed the mistake. So the mistake that I made here was actually that I gave it a word list and didn't give the -w flag. So we'll just go ahead and add that in there, and we should be good to go now. So see, here's the issue, right? We didn't give it a failure condition, if you remember. We just said, hey, throw this word list at it. So it's not gonna know when there's a failure, right? Now, the way that as attackers we can detect when it fails or when it succeeds is there should be a different length of the response. Now, you see the 36 word here. This is, they're all coming back with the 36s. Obviously, they can't all have these passwords. Like, you can't have like thousands of passwords for a single account. There's only going to be one password for that account. So we can deduce this is probably the failure condition when it returns with 36 words. So we want to find, or 36 word length. So we need to find, we need to go ahead and supply that information to wfuzz. And the way we can do that is, and you need to put this at the beginning of your command, use the tac HW. So what that's for is hide words. So after that we supply it a length 36. So from our output, it's going to hide anything that is of the word length of 36. So effectively hiding the failed attempts, so that way we get a more clean output and we can see what the successful attempts are, which one is the successful attempt, because that's what we're interested in, of course. So if we run it like that, then we'll see nothing, because another thing, man, I'm just very error prone right now, but we're going to get through this tutorial, I promise you. We're running on the top 100. We want to run on the top 1,000. Oh, man. So now when it uses the proper word list that we want to use, we'll see that it has some hits, a 500 response, so that's an errored response. 302, that's very interesting, right? And it's a 24 character word list, or, response instead, or 24 word rather. So the password 1, right? That's probably the password then. So let's manually verify that, of course. So if we go back to this login page here, we'll do admin and that password 1. Now we see we are logged into the portal. So yeah, that's just one simple way to do web form brute forcing, password attacks using wfuzz. And one quick announcement: I'm not going to be doing the live stream on Tuesday because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested in the election stuff, and so that's going to be a busy day for a lot of people, I think. And so I didn't want to have competing with all that stuff. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just do it on Thursday. We're going to be actually doing something similar using wfuzz on the box that we're currently working through in that live stream. So yeah, if you guys have been enjoying the content so far, please subscribe. It definitely helps out, and hit that like button as well. And as always, let me know any comments or questions down in the section below. And I will see you guys in the next video.